Okay, people. So I think this is our first film, right? For Fantasia this year. And it is Carnage for Christmas. This is the new film from Alice Maio Mackay, right? Alice also co-wrote the film with Benjamin Pahl Robinson. Um, yeah, Alice produces the film. Music is handled by Alexander Taylor. Aaron Chopin is on cinematography. Vera Drew edits the piece. Right, Adele Sherwin was on special effects, makeup. The cast. Well, who do we have? Who do we have here? If you, the way everything is laid out is a bit all over the place. Danielle is played by Dominic Booth. You've got Kat played by Louis Dawson. Riley played by Olivia Deeble. Abby is played by Lisa Fanto. Molly Ferguson is Sarah. We've got Farah, played by Cassie Hamilton. Barry is played by Iris McGurlan. Lola, played by Jeremy Manu. Kent is played by Tomilo Nupi. Dave, played by Joe Romero. Kit, played by Jessica Switowoski. Charlie, played by Zarif. Betsy Brown is the radio operator. Banks, played by Chris Asimos. The manager at the garage, played by Patty Galavu. Who else do we have here? I think that's our main cast, right? The layout is a bit all over the place, which always makes it difficult with these things. You know, it could definitely be clearer. Anyway, people. Anyway. The gist is this: when true crime podcaster and sleuth Lola visits her hometown at Christmas for the first time since running away and transitioning, the vengeful ghost of a historical murderer and urban legend seemingly arises to kill again. Lola must solve the case before her community is slaughtered. She's up against not only a psychotic, that's it, a psychotic killer, but a town haunted by secrets. Dum dum dum. So yeah, that is the gist. We do get a director's statement. It's Carnage for Christmas is an independent, no-budget trans horror Christmas film directed by trans and at the time 18-year-old filmmaker Alice Maio Mackay and edited by Emmy-nominated Vera Drew. Known for the People's Joke. I mean, that's not really a statement. That's not really a statement at all. That's just words thrown out there. Boy. I mean, yeah. It's like they use with this film, we're using like the framework of a podcast. Right, Lola and a friend hosts this podcast, Nancy Crew, I believe the name was, and they're going over, it's a true crime situation. And Lola has experienced, stuff in the past. So she recounts, how she got into all of this. And as it so happens, she is returning home for Christmas. Right. So she returns home to catch up with her sister. Um, and then all of these things start to happen. So that's the main kind of gist, which is, like, look, as a framework, that works, right? It's absolutely fine. You get this, ooh, these people, right, doing crime. Who can solve the day? Yeah, our little sleuth. That's who. We've seen it countless times, and that's okay, right? Because it's we're now viewing it through the eyes of Alice Maio Mackay. The thing with this story is, I think the beginning gives us a lot of promise, right? The beginning's very interesting because as she's retelling this story, with her past connection, we get animation, right? So it's just like, oh, really inventive. Yeah, it's fun, right? It's well put together. But I then think getting into the rest of it, there's not a whole load of depth here, you know? I think that's the big issue with this film. We don't really get fleshed out characters, you know? Now, Alice, you might remember, right? We covered T blockers. Now, I cannot remember if it was last year's Fantasia or if it was for Final Girls. It was one of the two, though, right? And it was a similar thing with T blockers, right? We don't really get fleshed out characters. Um, and I think, in the weird director's statement, like pointing out that Alice wrote this at 18, I think it shows, right? Because we have the Lola character just real kind of shouting it. Like, look, not everyone likes police, which is fine, but you understand there's a way that you have to be around police if you're not going to get dragged off to jail, right? Or fucked with. But we have like Lola just getting in the face and shouting at police, which is pretty crazy. Right? It's pretty crazy. And there was a few times when they're asking, I think there was the one policeman who makes the weird deal with her, right? Asks a legit, like, isn't coming in a weird way or anything like that. So it's just like the name calling and all of that is a little bizarre, right? It's a little bizarre. So that doesn't really work. Some of the acting is it's not the strongest. Like when she goes to the club and her old teacher is there, that oh it yeah, not the strongest performance in this film. Not the strongest performance. And a lot of the dialogue is a little bit wooden and it feels a little forced in places, you know? Um, there's a weird thing at the end with a taser where you're just like, hold on. I think everyone knows what happens to the body when you've been kind of tased, when you're in a certain level of shock. So it's just like, what did you think was going to happen at that point? Right. And also, there wasn't a need for it, you know? So the consequence, yeah, now you kind of did that to yourself, you know? We have all of this. I think also, yes, Alice is trans, right? But in the film, there's all of these things that, oh, that happened just because that, like past murders and past things. And it's just like, oh, and they killed a trans, but just like, it's a little bit forced. You know what I mean? Like, you can have a character that is trans, right? And then is going through certain situations of boom, boom, boom. That's all fine. Like, there's no, you know what I mean, that's a normal kind of thing. But then when you're trying to force all these other things into the story, it's just like, look, not everything has to necessarily be connected to this thing, because we're still with the character. We're still like, oh, how are they going to do this? How are they navigating? How are they going to solve this issue? You know what I mean? So I feel that Alice is forcing the story a lot of the time, when maybe like some work on fleshing out the characters, giving a bit more depth, instead of using shouting as a crutch, find some other ways to navigate a situation. You know what I mean? But if you really enjoyed T blockers, then I think, Carnage for Christmas, yeah, that will work for you, right? It is playing on Friday the 19th, along with the short film Elves on the Edge. You know what I mean? So yes, it's on at yeah, 7:30 on Friday at the Selja de Souv cinema. It's also playing on Wednesday, the 24th of July at 5 p.m. So if you missed it on the 19th, you can catch it on the 24th, right? So yeah, there you go, people. Carnage for Christmas.